you don't need to use a lot on these washers. I mean, all you're trying to do is uh, break the friction on them, and this is their new lube. Well, it's not new now, but it's a new lube they designed, you know, low friction. So then we're going to put our nuts on. So I usually try to catch the threads inside. I mean, you could go around and do the threads if you wanted to, but I just, you know, I'm using a brush so I can get inside the threads and then put a little on the outside flange also. You just want to make sure that you use enough, because these torque to 210 foot-pounds, and that's pretty tight. You know, you're putting a lot of force on them, and if they chatter when you're torquing them, I'll pull it off and put more on, because if you get that, when you get that chatter, actually what it is that nut is slipping on the washer, and you don't know what the torque is. I mean, you could have gone beyond your torque setting easily if it does that. So I'll pull them off. That one off, if it chatters, I'll just pull it off and put some more lube on it. But usually if you do it this way, you're not going to have an issue with that. Yeah, we got all those on. Okay, I'm gonna probably hear a bunch of people freaking out about this, but like I said, 20 years, and if you're careful. So I'm gonna carefully start in the middle, make sure all of my push rods are engaged, and they all are. All I'm doing here is just saving myself some time. And I'm watching my push rods, make sure that they're still engaged and everything's straight. Where was it? Okay, now I'm going to do my first torque setting, and everything looks good, so I'll come down nice and even. All my rocker arms and push rods are all where they're supposed to be. I'm going to do about 40 pounds on my first pass. I'll hit them twice because invariably there's going to be some that are loose because I'm crushing the gasket a little bit and compressing the valve spring. Okay, 40's my first pass. Then I'm going to step it up to 150, so I'm going to get the bigger torque wrench to do that. Set her on 150. Okay, so my next pass is going to be at 210 pounds, and at this point here I'm going to roll the engine over twice, assuming I have the other head on too. I'm going to roll it over, make sure everything's okay with my valve train, nothing hanging up, and then I'll do my 210 pass on it. So our stud's better than bolts on these. I don't know, I'm not a metallurgist, and I've heard, that these bolts stretch. Well, they're designed to stretch. These stretch too. Maybe these don't stretch as much as these, but really on this engine, that's not the problem. The problem is there's only 4 of these around each cylinder. You know, every other diesel engine has 2 extra bolts. So you're trying to keep all that pressure in the cylinder just using 4 bolts, and that's where the problem is with these. You know, I've seen them go, you know, over 200,000 miles on a bolt and not have an issue. But generally, what I see, or what I used to see, these trucks are getting pretty old now. But, you know, around anywhere from 75, 80,000 miles to 130,000 miles, you're seeing a head gasket failure in there. And all of these trucks were being used. I mean, not all of them are blowing head gaskets, but it is a very common problem on these. But I'm not convinced that the stud is actually better. I mean, the bolts seem to last just as long. So, you know, like I said, the problem is there's only 4 of them. And if you're using one of these trucks for hot shotting, it's probably not the best truck to use for hot shot, because you're in a hurry, you're racing the clock. And I've worked with a few hot shot guys, and they burn shit up all the time, you know, on these, because they're just running them balls to the walls all the time and building a lot of fire in the heads, and, you know, trying to get there and meet deadlines and that kind of stuff. And you know, you get them